it just goes on and on. Representative Omar, oh boy, she was all over this issue. She said we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department, completely. Because here's the thing, there's a cancer. The Minneapolis Police Department is rotten to the root, and so when we dismantle it, we get rid of that cancer. I'm really sad to have to do this again, but our colleagues on the other side just pretend as though the last couple of years didn't occur and that almost everyone on the other side there didn't make openly public statements repeatedly that indeed they wanted to defund the police, while all of us on this side were fighting for law enforcement, supporting local, state, and federal law enforcement, and doing everything we could to shore up confidence and the protection of those who are out serving on the front lines for us. Let me just give you a sampling of some of their comments, because it's been said here that these are quote-unquote cheap talking points. I'll just start with the calls from Chairman Jerry Nadler. He publicly agreed with reducing the New York Police Department budget, which I think was cut by, I don't know, something like $1 billion or something. He said, quote, there should be substantial cuts to the police budget and a reallocation of those funds to where we need them, unquote. Representative Jayapal used different language to support defunding the police, and she said, quote, it is completely reasonable for us to shift significant resources from law enforcement and investing in people, unquote. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries certainly expressed an openness to defunding the police. He said on CNN, quote, you have to look at that on a case-by-case basis, city by city. Former Representative, now Mayor Karen Bass, who used to be on the committee, stated calls to defund the police, quote, can be used as a distraction, yet she supported, quote, the intent behind the messaging. Again, these are their own words, y'all. Representative Bowman, on March 17, 2021, he tweeted this, quote, too many police in our country are more concerned with protecting white supremacy than serving the communities that pay their salaries. Then he tweeted, we don't need police with lethal weapons carrying out routine traffic stops. Reallocate police funding to unarmed traffic forces to remove even the possibility of state-sanctioned manslaughter, unquote. Representative Cori Bush, boy, she has pages and pages of this, but she said, and by the way, she was vice chair of the crime subcommittee in the last Congress. She tweeted, it's not a slogan, it's a mandate for keeping our people alive. Defund the police, in all caps. Then she said that defunding the police is not the problem, that's the solution, and we have to do that to invest in our communities. I'll keep going because I got some more time. AOC, Congressman...
Will the gentleman yield?
I'm happy to yield.
The gentleman just reflected that the person that House Democrats chose to chair the crime subcommittee...
You heard that right.
...said that it was a mandate to defund the police, and now, on Police Week, when the majority is seeking to simply pass a resolution honoring the police, we are being accused of taking cheap shots at Democrats when not any Democrat, literally the person they put in charge of the crime sub. Is that what I'm to understand, Mr.
That
Johnson?
is indeed.
And I have an inquiry. Is Ms. Bush still on the Judiciary Committee?
We haven't seen her.
No, but it's an honest question. Is she on the...
She has a name tag down there.
Well, I mean, I'd say it would be great, Mr. Chairman, if we had the benefit of Ms. Bush in committee so as to allow her to espouse these views and subject them to debate.
Would the gentleman yield?
No, it's my time.
I'm sorry, I'll yield back to Mr. Johnson.
Well,
I will gladly, upon the opportunity to take time, engage in a colloquy on this.
I just want to ask about your ATF defund.
Well, no, hold on.
Totally for it. Wish we had the defund the ATF bill up this week if I ran the place.
But wait a minute,
Feel free.
Mr. Gates. Wait, I have a minute left. I know this is painful, but I've got to get some of these zingers in here because Representative Ocasio-Cortez said after they cut $1 billion from New York's police department, she said, quote, that didn't go far enough. Defunding police means defunding police. Representative Jones, Mondaire Jones, said that a suite of criminal justice reforms to redress racial inequalities and harms in our justice system, including defunding police, reinvesting this money, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on. Representative Omar, oh boy, she was all over this issue. She said we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department, completely. Because here's the thing, there's a cancer. The Minneapolis Police Department is rotten to the root, and so when we dismantle it, we get rid of that cancer. Representative Presley, Ayanna Presley said, the defund movement isn't new. Folks are just finally listening. We got monies for war, but we can't feed the poor. Tlaib, I'll end with this. She said, when we say hashtag defund the police, what we mean is people are dying and we need to invest in people's livelihoods instead. Listen, we have the receipts, y'all. Don't try to bring this argument in here again. I got a lot more, but I'm out of time.
You remember when you said this in February? This is before you made these statements, which I think are not being square with the American people. You said vaccination of teachers is not a prerequisite for safely reopening schools. Did you make that statement?
Something to that effect. I can't exactly say the quote, but yeah.
Vaccinations of teachers is not a prerequisite for safely reopening schools. I think you made that statement on February 3rd. Do you stand by that statement?
At the time, yeah. We had a week later or 10 days later, we had an operational guidance that demonstrated layered mitigation strategies and that you could safely reopen.
Were you speaking as Dr. Walensky, or were you speaking as Dr. Walensky, head of the CDC?
I have said that while I've been in front of Congress and the media and press conferences, during my tenure as CDC director, I've been speaking as the CDC director. But
that's not what the White House said, right? Jen Psaki said Dr. Walensky spoke to this in her personal capacity. Do you remember that statement?
I do.
Who's right? Jen Psaki or you?
Well, I will tell you that I was speaking in my role as the CDC director.
Looks to me like what happened is in February you said, I'm going to be honest with the American people. I'm going to give it to them straight. Vaccination of teachers is not a prerequisite for safely opening schools, and the Biden administration hung you out to dry. They said, nope, she ain't talking for us. She ain't talking as the head of the CDC. She's talking as Dr. Walensky. And then a month later, you said, well, you know what? I better not be totally honest with the American people. So I'm going to say vaccinated people do not carry the virus and they don't get sick. And everyone understands, like, wow, I know someone who's been vaccinated and they've gotten sick afterwards. I think what happened is you tried to be honest and they said no. And then you said, well, I'm going to have to hedge a little bit. I'm going to have to give the American people misleading statements from the head of the CDC. You were speaking as head of the CDC in both situations, right?
I have said I've been speaking as the head of the CDC.
All the time? Yeah. Well, it would have been nice if you'd have just been honest and straightforward with the American people every single time throughout this virus. With that, I yield back.
I have stood by my commitment to tell the American people what I know when I know it. Thank you.